Hello. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Live Taps and Backstabs. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about the Rogue, the Necro, and the Dire Lord, and the Enchanter as well, because I do massively enjoying the Enchanter at the moment. However, I'm just here casually enjoying hitting 1,000 point backstabs, which is fabulous. It's lovely. It's amazing. It's so deserved. Is that the right word? It's been so long. We've been through like backstabbing for 8 damage. We've been backstabbing for 100-ish, and now we are on 1,000. Anyway, it's a patch notes video. Welcome to Light Ups and Backstabs. We're going to go through all the patch notes, and it's a cracker this week. It's a cracker, and it's really nice to see the direction in which these patch notes look like they are making the game head towards. Is really, really cool. There's another couple of little bits of information as well within Discord that have been posted about as well, which we're going to talk about, and there will be a rogue specific and Dire Lord specific video all about the changes, and we'll go a little bit more in depth with some of the changes in the patch notes which affect the Rogue, this amazing Rogue here, the Rogue and the Dire Lord as well. So tune in and find those videos as well if you want to find out those. However, for let's just check. I just want to check the Bolt because I think, oh no, he is still kill on Slight. I thought I'd killed enough Wild Bloods to avoid him being KOS, but anyway, right, yes, I'm going to go over the patch notes, which are going to be really, really cool. It's a really interesting really interesting set of patch notes, really cool patch with some great changes. It'll be a much more excited video than last week's patch notes, so let's go over those now. Right, let's have a look through these. There's some really interesting ones, guys. I think you should be excited for what this means for the game, where the game direction is heading. Some of the changes have been really cool. The kind of the nuances of the changes and how it's affecting your classes. It no longer feels disappointing. I think that's the word. Like when you hit a button that is like your, for instance, backstab. When you hit backstab, you're no longer likely to be, oh, I only hit for 70 or something like that kind of feel. There's some really nice changes in here, and obviously there's going to be changes that are going to be rolling out across a lot of the classes, but we'll get to that when we get to the patch notes changes. Okay, so readiness now regens even while out of combat and while resting in combat, which is huge. Being actually able to sit down and regen some readiness is amazing, particularly for things like casters. You want to be sitting down towards the end of the fight so that you can stack up and store the resting mana regen buff, if you like. So you want to be sitting down towards the end of the fight, and since the last patch you weren't able to do that because you needed the readiness, blah blah blah, although to be fair, a lot of us weren't even using the readiness anyway. So right, so we now get readiness in and out of combat, so we get a little bit more regen. I have been playing. I wanted to play before I made this patch notes video because there's a lot of cool changes, and I will say that on the Enchanter, I only have one thing that I cast now on the Enchanter that uses readiness, but I was able to use that a lot more. It's the aggro. The detaunt, if you like, the ability that allows you to drop aggro a little bit off the mob, which was pretty. It's not like it was critical to the survival of the group, but it just lowered the stress levels of the group when you were able to do it. So, yeah, readiness regen is fantastic. Group NPC base resistances have been reduced to coincide with the resistance debuff stacking rules, and also the armor class and the avoidance have temporarily been reduced until the accuracy bug has been fixed. All these little changes, we're going to get to the technique and stuff later on down in the patch notes, and these little changes here have been really cool. So the mobs start out with lower base resistances, lower base armor class, because we don't get to stack all the debuffs on the mobs now, which is I'll get there, but it's good. It's a good change. It's good for the kind of the fatigue, if you like, of the game. Anyway, so bug fixes. We've fixed a hole in the terrain at the Gadai recruit camp in Thronefast. You'll no longer be dropping through that hole, which is great. Fixed some more crashes and player disconnect cases. There have been a few more recently, so that's good. They've found some more of those and corrected those. We've got a possible fix for some NPCs getting stuck evading after combat ends, which is good. Evading mobs is a nightmare. We've corrected an issue that prevented many low-level dropped items from being salvageable. Please note that rare drops from named NPCs may still not be salvageable. That's fine. Like, if you've got rare drops from NPCs, please sell them on the economy. Get them passed out across the community. Don't salvage them. This is intentional for now. Okay, so classes. Disorientate state now lasts for 60 seconds, up from 20. This is really important because of, and I hate using the phrase resource management, because a lot of the readiness stuff is not resource management, it's just poor. It's detrimental, not poor, sorry, it's detrimental. Yeah, this is now really, really good, which means you can add the disorientate state onto a mob early on, and it lasts for longer, which means that we are then able to take advantage of that if we want to with our slightly less usable readiness stuff. So, brain shock, panic creation, nervous magic, induced nausea, Monster Within, Serpent Strike and Vine Whip have all been reduced down to 1,000 readiness. Why they were 2,000 readiness to begin with, I have no idea. Like Brain Shock, for instance, did 16 damage, I think, on the Enchanter. Why that cost 2,000 readiness, I have no idea. Now it costs 1,000 readiness. I'm still never going to use it. Yeah, good. So we've at least got a little bit of this drop down. If we just very, very quickly go back to the game, I'll explain why this is a bit of a weird one. I have 3,000 readiness. So if something in here costs 2,000 readiness, I can only ever do one. If all my techniques cost 2,000 readiness, I'm only ever able to cast one of them at any one time. Doesn't matter whether I've cast one. No, it's just unable. I can't cast two. Therefore, if I've got a really important, in fact, if I've got a really important technique which I need to cast, like the Enchanter one, which is the drop aggro, or lower your aggro, lower your threat, that's so important, you don't want to be casting any of the other abilities because you always want to have the option to be able to cast that threat drop. So it doesn't matter whether I've got 3,000, it doesn't matter that I've got 3,000 readiness. If it costs me 2,000, so 2/3 of that stat to be able to cast it, I'm never going to want to cast anything else, because if I use something else and it costs me 2,000, I've then only got 1,000 readiness. Doesn't matter how long that's going to take me to get back, unless it comes back instantly. Doesn't matter how long it's going to take me to get back. I can't cast my threat drop. Therefore, it's not worth casting anything else because of the chance that when you need to cast your threat drop, it's not up. So that's the issue with having things that cost more than half of your readiness bar, more than half of your readiness resource that's available. So long story short, these dropping down to 1,000 readiness is really, really good. So at least it allows you, I mean, the vast majority of other things should be in there, like the mana regen and things like that should also be in there. Right, so Dire Lord. So this is, I'm going to do a separate video on this as well. We're going to go deeper into this because this is fascinating as well. Right, so we're going to fly through this and just kind of do a quick once over on what everything is. Arcane Tear is learned at level 15 through the weapon skill level. Okay, so the weapon skill level at level 15 is 48, and now steals 10 of all resistance types. So it just flat out steals 10 of all resistant types. Arcane Tear has a combo ability that is learned at level 30 and now steals 20 of all resistance type. So when you get to level 30, whatever that weapon skill level is, which is 63, I think. No, 93. Once you get to level 30, you can put Arcane Tear 1 on the mob, and then it lights up and you can put Arcane Tear 2 on the mob, which then steals 20 of the resistance. So you can put it on twice, which is really cool. Nice little combo. But Arcane Tear is really good. Arcane Tear used to take 4% of the mob's resistances, give it to yourself, but lower theirs as well. But it would stack 3 times, so you have to put it on 3 times to get that up. So this is a really nice change. It's one of those quality of life ones. You were always going to put Arcane Tear on the mob 3 times. It was, and particularly with the new readiness changes and the new technique changes, you could just put it on straight away because there was no cooldown. So you could just go Arcane Tear, Arcane Tear, Arcane Tear. So within a second it was on it anyway. So now they've changed it into 1 ability. That's great. Nice little change. Boil Blood, level 1. Boil Essence, level 21. Changes, name change to Corrupt Blood and converted to ranks. Added additional ranks of this line at level 11 and level 31. Again, this is really, really cool. So we've got more ranks of the Boil Blood line. There's a little bit of inconsistency around these. Now, I've talked about this before in a previous patch notes, and we've had plenty of comments saying that some people like it this way and some people prefer it the other way. So it's kind of like a 50-50. I like ranks having different names. So I like Boil Blood, Boil Essence, Corrupt Blood, rather than having Corrupt Blood rank 1, Corrupt Blood rank 2, Corrupt Blood rank 3. I don't know whether there's a reason why they have the 2, because they're even adding things into the game like this. This is an addition. They're adding things into the game which have ranks of the spells, but they're not calling them ranked 1, rank 2, rank 3. And then they're also adding ones into the game that are rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. So I'm not entirely sure why. I like, just for what it's worth, if you like, I like them all having separate names, but all being within the same kind of delineations, the same kind of line. So Boil Blood, Boil Essence, and Corrupt Blood, sort of all the same. I mean, that would be called like Boil Corruption or something. Yeah, so we've got new dots, the new dot which is lovely for the Dire Lord. We've added an additional spell to life tap line at level 34. I can't remember what that one's called. I have checked it on the Dire Lord. Again, we'll do a second video on the Dire Lord. Really nice, and that's got a really nice little stat change as well, so watch out for that video. Additional ranks of Devour Dexterity starting at level 15. Added additional ranks of Devour Constitution starting at level 18. Actually, to be fair, the rank stuff for this kind of this sort of ability makes sense because it's just Devour Dexterity. You're not going to, well, I suppose you could like Siphon Dexterity, Devour Dexterity, and then Leaden Dexterity. I don't know, but yeah, it's that kind of makes sense. Devour Dexterity 1, Devour Dexterity 2, like Backstab 1, Backstab 2. So maybe they've added Devour Intellect starting at level 10. Okay, so now you can start devouring and stealing intellect as well. Again, we're going to go deeper into this on the Dire Lord video. If you are a Dire Lord, watch out for that video because there's some really interesting things about these Devour lines now. They've added additional ranks of Deafening Whisper starting at level 16. Really cool changes as well on this one, so they get better as you go up in the levels. Again, watch the video. They've added additional ranks of the Torment line, also starting at level 18. Again, some really cool little kind of progression changes on there. Same with Leaden Blood and same with Essence Harvester. So Leaden Blood has got additional ranks starting at level 22, and Essence Harvester has got additional ranks starting at level 30. Really, really cool. Now, tweaks. Call of the Dire is now instant cast. Cooldown has been increased to 3 minutes. The changes of Call of the Dire are actually quite cool, and it does just about have a role now. Again, we'll go into that a little bit more on the Dire Lord video, but it does just about force its way onto the bar in certain situations. They're very, very limited situations, but it does have a role just about. Enchanter. This is cool. So Forceful Will line has been received. Adjusted the levels that the Forceful Will line is received. Forceful Will is now available at level 6, and then you also get Sieging Will, which is at level 36. So you get it earlier, and then you get a later one as well. This is your debuff, so the magic debuff. Sieging Will, I think, is 35% of resistances get dropped. I'll check on the Enchanter later. The Necromancer, this is quite cool. Added a new line of abilities for the Necromancer, starting with Noxious Vapors at level 10, that slows the target's attack and spellcasting speed. I haven't logged on to my Necromancer, so I don't know what percentage this is. In fact, let's go and check now. Okay, here is Mr. Necromancer. A little bit of lag because I've only just logged in. Right, let's run up to the Necromancer trainer. The Necromancer is really fun. They've got, so the induced nausea here, that has gone down to 1,000 readiness, which is cool. So that's a little dot there. These damage modifiers, the intellect and the stamina, are going to change, and that's one of the exciting things about the game at the moment. Right, so Necromancer Scrolls, it was Noxious, it was around level 6, wasn't it? Noxious Vapors, there it is. Let's have a look at that one. Is there another one of those? I don't know, let's go, let's just med that one. Okay, so Noxious Vapors should be an ability, so let's get an ability bar off. Oh my god, we get so many abilities. I do love the Necromancer. So if anybody's interested in my Necromancer stuff, I was kind of waiting for the gnome, because I was kind of fed up with playing. Humans. Envelop the enemy in the thralls of undead, slowing their attack speed and casting speed by 25% for 2 minutes. So we get a 25% slow. Now that is probably going to, well, it will, won't it? It will. Let me just get back to here. That will rank up. Because they've added a new line, so you start with level 10. I'm guessing that is going to rank up. It's going to do like maybe 30 and then 35% as we get higher levels, or maybe 25, 35 and 45. I don't know what the slow is going to be, but yeah, that's really nice. Now there are some changes to the way debuffs are working. They don't stack anymore. No debuff stack. So if there is somebody who does a higher spellcasting speed debuff, in fact, this is target's attack and spellcasting speed. I don't know whether this is going to stack then, because the Enchanter, for instance, has I think it's just a spellcasting speed debuff. So I'm not sure whether that would overwrite or stack with this one, because this one is attack and spellcasting speed. It's probably one of those little. There are a few things, and I say this every time there's a patch note to some of my friends. There's a few things which are always like fringe cases, so things like this where they have stopped stacking. There are a few fringe cases like the warrior striker breaking, which not only drops the armor penetration, not only drops the AC of a mob, but also adds threat to the mob and helps them hold aggro. It now doesn't stack with the rogue's AC debuff. So if I'm a rogue and I put the AC debuff on the mob, which I do within the first second of the fight, the warrior then can't do striker breaking, which is, in my opinion, probably not the right way of going about it. It should apply, but not apply, because it's two parts. It should not apply the AC debuff, but still give them threat. So it should still be able to be used to give the threat and help with their tanking capabilities, but not apply the AC. Those are the kind of the fringe abilities and combinations which get missed a little bit when there's testing going on and things like that. So those are the things that we need to shout out about and tell the devs, and then hopefully they kind of come back and change them. Okay. Oh my word, the rogue. This is so good. There's going to be a very long and very excited video about the rogue changes, because they're fantastic. Okay, let's run through these so that you've got a rough idea of what they all are. All ability calculations have been adjusted for the skills listed below. This is the first class. I think the Paladin might have got it last week as well, but this is the first class, or the next class. All classes are going to get this, which is really exciting, and we'll go through. So backstab, all ranks are changed to purely the dexterity damage modifier. So before, backstab was dexterity and agility. Now, I was just about to start playing around with my dex and agility, because my backstab was always kind of disappointing, and I could never get it quite as high as I sort of thought it should be hitting for. My dex was 61. I've got 61 dex. And I was wondering whether if I dropped my dex down a little bit and pulled my agility up, because I think my agility was like 28. If I pulled my agility to 40 and dropped my dex to 40, I was wondering whether it was going to work and kind of give a little bit more of a damage boost, rather than just having one all the way. Now it's just a single damage modifier. So if you want to backstab a lot, get lots of dex. If you want to waylay a lot for a lot of damage, get a lot of dexterity. If you want a blackjack kick for a lot of damage, get a lot of agility. Okay, you can see where this is going. Fan of Knives, all ranks. We're getting 2 ranks of Fan of Knives. Add an agility damage modifier. So if you want to AoE for a lot, stick some agility on. Sarlor now, my rogue, has he's got like 3 sets of equipment. It's going to be part of the rogue video. It's really, really, really interesting. He's got an agility set. He's got a dexterity set. He's got a intellect set, which is fascinating. So yeah, it's really, really cool. Bloodletter has been changed to stamina damage modifier. Rogue damaging techniques have been changed to the agility damage modifier. So that's things like hidden swing and weak point. So those are damaging techniques. And then rogue state techniques have been changed to a dexterity modifier. So things that manipulate the state of the mob have been changed to a dexterity. That's really, really good, actually, because you don't want things that are manipulating the state to be their own stat, because you're never really going to be pushing you're never really going to be pushing that stat if it's a singular one, because you're not really kind of doing a lot of damage on state techniques. So the fact that they've put that on dexterity, which you're going to have anyway, is quite nice. So we don't have to worry about the state techniques doing less damage than maybe we could have done if it was stamina, for instance. Deceptive Strike bleed damage has been changed to a stamina modifier, and Strike of Demise bleed damage has also been changed to a stamina modifier. Twin Fangs and Inject Poison and Venomous Strike have all been changed to intellect. Watch the Rogue video. Watch the Rogue video. It's nuts. Right, Deceptive Strike no longer requires and consumes Exposed, which is really, really cool. Trick Shot Slashing State has been changed to Grappled, and Strike of Demise Piercing State has been changed to Defenseless. Now that's quite interesting, because the Strike of Demise bleed damage has been changed to a stamina damage modifier. Well, that now longer even exists, because the Strike of Demise bleed was on the piercing. So that's not relevant. That's an errant little patch note in there. Shadow Walk readiness generation has been reduced to compensate for universal readiness gain changes. So out of combat, you're now getting readiness back at a set rate. Shadow Walk would give us, I think it was something like 400 readiness every tick or something. Now you're getting less readiness a tick from Shadow Walk, but that's being topped up by the fact that you're getting universal readiness gain anyway. Right, fixes. Fix an issue with the first rank of Corrosive Brew where it was not reducing the amount of armour that was intended. And in addition, we're now getting additional ranks of Corrosive Brew starting at level 18. I have 4 ranks. I think it's 4 ranks. I've got 4 ranks of Corrosive Brew. And it's really, really good. At the higher ranks, it takes off more percentage of armour class, and it also lasts for longer as well. So when we're having those longer fights, and I think the mobs are going to have a slightly higher number of hit points, because the damage on the rogue has just gone absolutely through the roof. So I'd imagine with this kind of coming in with everybody else, the mobs are going to have slightly more hit points, so that the time to kill doesn't get just like 10 seconds. Yeah, so the higher ranks of Corrosive Brew not only take off more armour, but also last a little bit longer as well. We'll go through that in the rogue video. Okay, the Shaman tweaks. Adjusted the levels at which Scorched Fog Line is required, so you now get it at 10, 20, 30, 40 so you no longer sorry, get it at 10, 20, 30, 40. You now get it at 10, 18, 26 and 34. So every 8 levels from level 10, which is good. Just bringing down that accessibility a little bit. The first armor class reduction the Shaman will learn is now called Fraying at level 6. So you get an earlier armor class reduction for the Shaman. And then they also get an additional rank to the armor class reduction line at level 34 called Embrittle. See, another case where the ranks of spells are called their own thing, which I like. I just do a little bit more of that, please, Visionary Realms. I like the ranks of spells in a line being called different things. So you can say, "Oh, I'm going to put Embrittle on the marble," or whatever. You just kind of know what you're talking about, rather than having to say backstab 4. I don't want to change backstab to different names. I don't even know whether we need backstab 1, 2, 3, 4. It should just scale. Anyway, that's beside the point. Right, the quick discipline for the cleric has been changed from health to readiness. If anybody doesn't know what this was, the cleric has a technique called quick discipline, which it hits the mob 3 times with the weapon that you're holding. And it's a technique. All techniques were changed last patch to use a little bit more readiness. Quick discipline, however, got changed to use not 1,000 readiness but 1,000 health. So if you did have 1,000 health on your cleric, you used all of it to use this technique, which has apparently killed a few clerics. Luckily, my cleric doesn't even have anywhere close to 1,000 hit points, so I was never even able to cast it. Right, the warrior. Striker Breaking is now a combo ability. New ranks are learned at level 10, 20 and 30. Cost has been reduced to 500 readiness. Now, I would imagine this is the same as the Dire Lord one, where the Dire Lord one has... Which one was the one with the Dire Lord one? Yeah, Arcane Tear. Arcane Tear is now a combo ability, so you put Striker Breaking on first, and then it will open up a second one. So a second buff will open up on that on that ability key, and then you'll press it again and it will do a second rank of Striker Breaking. Now, as I just said, Striker Breaking reduces armor class, and therefore if you have a class which is reducing the armor, it blocks that. So that needs to be fed back ASAP. I'll probably put a feedback in myself after this video. Okay, last little bit now. The VFX disabled the VFX scaling on the majority of effects. This should address some NPC types, spiders, toads, etc., having improperly scaled VFX play on them. Notice they didn't mention the snakes in Eastern Plains, which were obscenely large. I'm a little bit sad about this because the spiders in Graveyard were just slightly larger spiders. So I would imagine, if you think about the mob size, you have the mob size, you have the reticle circle on the bottom of the mob as well, and then you have like the hitbox, which denotes how large the VFX of the spells which you are casting on the mob are. And the spiders up in the Graveyard were a little bit larger than the ones in Mad Run. They shrunk the ones in Mad Run, sadly, because I love the large spiders in Mad Run, but now they're a little bit smaller. They were a little bit larger, and when I did my explosive trap on them, you just got such a satisfying kaboom of the explosive trap. So hopefully, I haven't been to the Graveyard yet, hopefully it's still that big of a boom, and it's just like pulled down some of the silly ones, like the snakes in Eastern Plains. Some may need to be readjusted to account for this change, like appearing too small now in some cases. So like the skeletons in Graveyard, the tiny disappointing little explosion. Or components not playing at the correct height on some NPCs, but for now it should resolve the majority of these cases where visual effects were way too big and obstructing gameplay. I never found them obstructing gameplay, to be honest. I always found them really, really exciting and satisfying when you put the explosive trap down on a rogue, on a big spider, and it just like boom. So yeah, I did used to do the explosive trap on the rogue quite a lot, purely just for that. Right, so yes, that are all the patch notes. There was a little bit of an error as well. They talked about Blackjack 2 and Fan of Knives 2, so they now get, or they are going to get ranks, which is really exciting, but they are not in the game yet. They mistakenly put them into the patch notes. So that is the patch notes for this week. Let me know what you think. There's some really cool things in here. The changes are really exciting for things like how the ability calculations and the damage modifier stats are working. So for the rogue, if I just use the rogue as an example, I now have 4 stats in which I can direct and build my rogue. I can either go heavy dexterity, I can go heavy intellect, I can go heavy stamina, or I can go heavy agility, or I can kind of go a little bit of a mix of 2 or 3 of them, or a mix of all 4, and then that will factor in a different playstyle. So for instance, if I wanted to go heavy bleed damage on my rogue and do lots of deceptive strikes, lots of bloodletters, then I could stack some stamina on there and do higher damage from those. And I do mean higher damage on those. If you are curious at all and you have a rogue, just go down and hit something and then apply some. The easiest way is to get some jewelry, because then you can shift that stat by 18, because you can go 3 3 3 3 3 on all the jewelry slots. Sorry, 15, not 18. So if you want to kind of just try a little bit of stamina, and go and grab 5 pieces of stamina jewelry, throw it on there, and then see the change, and it is quite exciting. Okay, one more thing that we have to look at here before we kind of finish all the patch notes is actually a post down here called Debuff Updates. So I've just got to scroll all the way up to the top because Discord is weird. So if we get at the top, Jopper has posted this. So this is about the debuffs and the techniques, and this is really and they need to do, this is the kind of communication which I think is really important in terms of direction. Just these little bits of, this is what we are aiming to do with the changes. So yeah, this is really good communication in here as well. So to complement upcoming changes to readiness and techniques, we're adjusting debuffs to enhance gameplay balance. Pantheon's design emphasizes strong class identity and interdependence. This is really important, okay? And I think we've lost a little bit of that with the techniques. There has been a little bit of a kind of a back and forth between, well, techniques are really good because they used to need the group to work together to get all the debuffs on there, but then also countering that, because you could put all the debuffs on there, it sort of made the classes like, well, the Enchanter can do a magic debuff, and the Shaman can do a slow or an AC debuff, and the Rogue can do an AC debuff, but we can also do an AC debuff with a monk and a wizard. So like, where's the class identity there? Over doing group manipulation stuff. So now I think moving away from the group manipulating the states and getting back to a strong class identity, and then having the group play being important because of a higher skill ceiling within the classes, and then just having to work together as a group within the game rather than having to worry about having to work together as a group just to debuff a mob, I think is a better state of the game. Anyway, we want class defining debuffs to highlight each class's unique role, feel impactful in combat, and make noticeable difference when those classes are present. So if you do have an Enchanter in the group, the Enchanter is going to be able to magically debuff the mob more than you are going to be able to do with just techniques, which is not the case at the moment. So this is really good. So if you do have an Enchanter in your little kind of static group, you're going to be really happy. If you do have a Rogue in your little static group, you're going to be really happy. If you do have a Shaman in your static group, you're going to be really happy because you've got the slow and the AC debuff, etc, etc. So really good. And then it also allows the group then to focus on playing the game rather than trying to debuff as soon as you can to make the fight, in inverted commas, trivial. Okay. Techniques were introduced to allow smaller or non-optimal groups to apply essential debuffs. such as slowing enemies or reducing armor class through combinations. These technique-based debuffs could stack with class-based debuffs for stronger effects like enhanced slows. However, this approach has led to mixed feedback. Using techniques to replicate class-defying debuffs has diminished class uniqueness, which was what I was saying earlier, and the need to repeatedly set up technique combinations even when relevant classes are present has caused player fatigue. I'm not entirely sure where the player fatigue has come from. I think I've probably missed some conversations going on in the Discord, but it's not particularly player fatigue. I just think it's. I just think being able to do these techniques has put the wrong focus on the group's workplay. So and the workflow of the play flow, the group flow, the ability flow. Anyway, so like whatever it is that allows you to do your rotations kind of thing. It's put the wrong emphasis on those rotations that each class does, because right at the top had to be these working together debuffs that I could only put on if somebody else put something on, blah 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 blah. There's still some kind of tweaking that I think they should do for this, but let's get to that later. To address this, we're rebalancing accessibility for small groups with stronger class identity and interdependence. Using AC reduction as an example, here are the changes. Okay, so this is going to go through. Eventually, this is going to be in across the board. Okay, so I'm sure there are, like I was saying earlier, I'm sure there are a few little fringe occurrences around where they're not quite swapped an ability over or something. So I'm sure they're going to get to them. If you do have one of those little fringe cases, just drop in some feedback. Each major debuff category, e.g. slow, resist debuff, AC debuff, anti-heal or snare, will have a class that excels at it. After today's path, the Rogue's Corrosive Brew becomes the strongest player-applied AC debuff. There are some other player-applied AC debuffs. For instance, the Shaman has got one as well. It's just not quite as high as the Rogue's one. Secondary class options. Shamans and Warriors retain... There we go. Shamans and Warriors retain their AC reduction abilities, Weathering and Strike of Breaking, but these are significantly less effective than Corrosive Brew. If a Rogue is present, their debuff will take precedence as AC debuffs no longer stack, and Corrosive Brew overwrites weaker effects. Now this is what I was saying earlier in the video, that it overwrites the weaker effects. However, Strike of Breaking has an additional effect on there, which is, it's not warrior critical, but it's really important for the warrior because it's aggro control. So it allows you to get some more aggro and taunt by using that ability. So they need to make sure that the secondary effects of some of these abilities are not being blocked out by the fact that the rogue is present. So if I have a rogue in a warrior group, the warrior suddenly can't hold aggro as well. That's not, I mean, they shouldn't. They've got plenty of ways of holding aggro, but that's not fair, if that's best. Technique-based debuffs. Techniques remain viable for applying debuffs, matching the effectiveness of a secondary class option. So if you don't have a rogue in there, then you will be able to get that AC debuff. So yeah, if you don't have a rogue, a shaman or a warrior in your group, you will be able to get that AC debuff by doing a technique at the same level as a shaman or a warrior. Okay. However, technique-based debuffs also do not stack with class-based debuffs. So techniques and ability cast debuffs aren't going to stack. So if you have a rogue in the group, you do not need an AC technique-based debuff on your bar anywhere in the group, which means that it opens up more abilities to be able to go into those technique slots or go into your ability slots. So if a shaman is grouped with a warrior, if a shaman is grouped with a rogue, they don't need the AC debuff ability, so it then opens up some more slots in there so they can put some other abilities on there. Now this is going to be really important, that all the classes have a really good competitive internal balance of all their abilities, because if a shaman suddenly groups with a rogue, they're going to be really kind of like, it's one of their debuffs which they now can't use because the rogue does it better. So it's made the shaman debuff kind of insignificant. Therefore, as soon as that comes off the bar, it allows them to put something else on which needs to be as good, or it needs to be competing at a level of usefulness that they are excited to put on the bar. So a shaman should be excited to group with a rogue, because they don't then have to do the AC debuff. It allows them to do something else in their repertoire, if that makes sense. So this is where it's going to be really, really critical that we start getting internal balance across all our abilities. If you have a weak ability in your ability set, shout it out on the feedback forum, because we need all those kind of being brought up. So yeah, there's things like that. So I think there is a magic resist debuff for the druid, which isn't as good as a enchanter one. So the druid needs to have their abilities to be good enough so that when they pull that magic debuff off the bar, they get something that they're excited to put back on the bar. So yeah, it's just competition within their abilities is really, really important now. So to compensate for non-stacking debuffs, we've boosted their potency. Debuff strength scales with ability level. Corrosive Brew reaches 50% AC at maximum level. So Corrosive Brew 4, I think it's 4, is 50% armor class reduction for 3 minutes. I think it's for 3 minutes. So we're now getting a higher, if you're really, really good, if you are the class leader at doing that debuff, you're going to get a really, really effective debuff for it at max level. To give you somewhere to kind of aim for, and also to be really, really rewarding. So I really like this, and I replied down here saying that this is a really, really good change, and I like it. It does offer up, when they do changes like this, it does affect other things within the game. So like I was saying, if a shaman groups with a rogue, his debuff then becomes completely null and void. He's not going to use it. He needs to come off the bar. It needs to have something that's competing to come into that spot. So this is where we just need to make sure that everything has really, really good internal balance across all the classes now. Right. So yes, that is the last. It's not a patch notes as such, but it is a really important little kind of patch note effective change as well, which is coming into the game now as well. So if you have a debuff and you are in a group, make sure you are talking with your group to find out who's got the best one, so that you are not wasting ability space on your bar, and also so that you're not wasting resources, because resources, particularly readiness, which like I say, I still think readiness for casters is an unnecessary resource. It's more detrimental than it is a resource. Make sure you're having that conversation with your group and just having a chat, and making sure that you're not being overwritten. And if you do notice that you are being overwritten, then just pull that debuff off your either rotation or off your bar and put something else on there. I know there are some classes which don't have anything else to put on there, so things like summoners maybe. But yeah, it's really, really good change, this. And yeah, it's leading us to believe, or it's leading me to believe, that they are aware of things which are happening, and they are aware that things are kind of adjusting, kind of like not adjusting, they are drifting away from the original. So here's me saying that it's really, really good change. And then a little bit further down here, so this is me talking about the techniques and the readiness. Jopper replies down here. Here we go. So you're seeing incremental steps of an overall process to lock everything into its final form of the way to launch. I'm very aware that general difficulty is lacking right now, but not for much longer. So at the moment, everything there's a few of my friends and a lot of people who are playing who are thinking that it's getting watered down and a little bit easier and easier and easier because of all these changes, and it was one of those things that we don't know whether they are doing all these changes to make it, not necessarily make it easier, but to hit little bits of feedback, and then the byproduct is making it easier, and they weren't aware of it. Now the good thing is that they are aware of it, and they're going to kind of adjust it back up again. So expect in a few weeks, months time, that the difficulty level is going to get ramped up again very, very soon, which is excellent. So yeah, it's a really, really nice little change. It's good to see this, and as usual with things like this, I think this says more about what Visionary Realms are actively trying to do and the direction in which they are going, more than the changes themselves. So these two changes, this change here and the patch notes, I think is really, really positive in the direction in which this game is going, and I think we are kind of slowly getting back onto the right track. Because I think we have, as Dropper has mentioned in this reply, I think we have just kind of drifted a little bit, yeah, this is really, really cool. I would far rather have a high skill ceiling per class than a kind of a fake manipulation of what the mobs are doing and what the groups are doing, with all the kind of the technique combinations that we used to have. So yeah, this is really, really cool, really, really exciting, and let's see where it goes. So yeah, please tune back in for the Rogue and the Dire Lord videos. I will be doing those pronto, yeah, I'm really, really excited. I hope you enjoy the video. I will see you in Terminus, I am sure. Thank you very much for watching, yeah, please like, subscribe, and if you would like to catch up with me on game at any point, I'm always around on Black Moon. I'm usually on Sarlor. Khalida is my Enchanter, and Malleus is my Dire Lord, and this is obviously Diabolou, my Necromancer, who is I'm waiting very, very patiently for the gnome, because for some reason Visionary Realms won't let me have an elf an elf Necromancer, so I had to be a human, and I was so fed up with playing humans over seasons and pre-seasons. I've just kind of fallen out with playing this guy, so I'm going to hold out for the gnomes. So as soon as the gnomes come in, we'll be playing the Necromancer a little bit more. But until then, thank you very much, everybody. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.